Hello and welcome back to my channel, where today I'm going to be ranking all of my BH Cosmetics eyeshadow palettes. I think I counted 13 of them, and so I'm just going to be ranking them in order from my least favorite to my most favorite and end up with my top 3. Then in a different video I will be doing a tutorial using those top 3 palettes. So I'd like to just state right at the get-go that this is completely subjective to my opinion, and if you don't agree with me, that's okay. And if I list something at the bottom which happens to be a favorite of yours, that's also okay. And let's just have fun with eyeshadow. If you haven't been here before, my name is Rachel. Hello and welcome. Thank you for clicking on my video today. I'm just a homeschooling stay-at-home mom who loves to play with colorful eyeshadow. So if you'd like to see content like that on your timeline, then please consider liking and subscribing, and you can find me on Instagram at Shimmers and Silver. And in case you're curious, this eyeshadow look will be posted to Instagram as a reel. So if you want to know how I did this, then you can find it there. Now let's jump right in. In last place is the Take Me Back to Brazil palette. This palette is older BH Cosmetics quality. I bought it as my very first entry palette into the company, and I actually keep it because I find that even though it's lower quality, I do still create a lot of fun looks with it, and I like the way that all the shadows work together. It doesn't really have this row, and this row are sort of shimmery-ish, but not really. They don't show up on the skin as shimmery at all. So I like the colors of this palette. If this were really good quality, it would probably be at the top, but it's not. It's lower quality. So I keep it for the fun of it, but it certainly is ranked at the very bottom. Next is the Sapphire Palette from BH Birthstone series. I was really excited about this palette, and I do like it. I have to say, as a caveat, everything from here on out is very good quality BH Cosmetics eyeshadow. But I'm just ranking these based on my preferences and what I like, and etc. So I like this palette. I love the colors. I love blue eyeshadow. But I have found that on myself, with my skin tones, especially the more purpley blue, tends to make me look very tired. So I have to be very careful using this palette. I do like how they put a green in here, which is kind of an unexpected color for a sapphire palette. And then they've got some nice variety in the shimmers, and the pressed glitters in these Birthstone palettes are terrible. They're tragic. So I just pretend that they're 6-pan palettes and forget about the glitter. It also doesn't really have a light transitional shadow, so you just have to kind of dive right into a dark look or pair this with something else. So I like the quality and the shadows, I like the colors, I just have to be careful for my own skin tones, and that's why it's ranked where it is. Alright, next is the Mimosa palette from the Weekend Vibes, yes, Weekend Vibes collection. They released 3 eyeshadow palettes in this collection, and I think also 1 or 2 face palettes. But we're just talking about eyeshadow today. This is the Mimosa palette. Really pretty colors, really nice formula. The reason that this palette is not ranked higher is because it doesn't have any deepening shades. It's all the same. You've got some lighter shades and you've got a lot of mid-tones, but nothing to really deepen out a look. And I like my looks to have a lot of contrast. So I wish that this palette had maybe a really deep berry or 2. And then maybe a shimmery yellow or a really shimmery orange. I don't know, just a little bit of a couple fewer pinks and a couple other tones. But this is really good quality, and if you're interested, if you like these colors, then it's a great one to get. I think I got this for $7 on Poshmark, so you don't even have to pay full price if you find it on a discount site. Next we have Lost in Los Angeles. This is part of the travel series. This palette's really pretty as well. I bought this only as a companion palette because I don't really prefer pastel eyeshadow, like a whole pastel look. It's just not my style. However, I do have a couple palettes that are super dark, and I wanted some lighter shades to blend them out. For example, the Age of Opulence palette from Beauty Bay. Beautiful palette, gorgeous colors, just amazing, but super dark. And so I wanted something like this where I could use pinks and purples and blues and just get more interest and more contrast in my eyeshadow look. So I bought this as a companion palette. I have used it as a companion palette. I did do one palette bingo with just this palette, and it was interesting, but not very exciting. So I like this palette, and I will say for pastel eyeshadows, this is really good quality. Like, you dip into any of these colors and you get a lot of pigment, considering that they're such light tones. So it's a great palette, and if these are your colors, then I would say go for it. Next up we have Avocado Toast, another palette from the Weekend Vibes collection. This one was people were really excited about this palette. I went back and forth on this one a bit because I was still learning how to apply green eyeshadow in a way that I liked, and I wasn't super confident in it, so I didn't want to buy a whole green palette. But once I got there, I bought this palette. This palette has some nice range. You've got some light tones and then some medium shades. You've got a couple of deepening out shades in different, in like the brown family and the more black family. You've got some unexpected shades like yellow over here and the pink. And then you have corresponding shimmers. So you have a yellow shimmer here and you have a pink shimmer here. And then here you've got a mauvey shade, which works with the pink and it works with the browns, and you've got an orangey-ish, and then you've got greens and a few different colors. So this is a good palette and you get a lot of variety. So if you like these army and olive greens, I definitely recommend this one as well. Next in my lineup, we have the Garnet Palette from the Birthstone collection. This was January's palette. This one I liked. This one I bought instead of Ruby because I wanted... Ruby was a little bit more pink leaning and the Garnet was a little more red leaning, and I liked the red side of things. Also, the Garnet palette had slight more variety as far as light and dark. Again, we just forget about the pressed glitter, never speak of it again. This Garnet shade is actually really pretty. It's more pink than you might expect, but it's nice. And then I like this palette because you've got a light shade here, which for me it's basically my skin tone, but it works to blend out other things. And you've got a true red shade, which I've heard is hard to formulate. And then you've got two deepening shades. My only complaint with this palette, aside from the awful glitter, is that these two deepening shades are too similar. This is like a medium to dark brown, and this is just a darker brown. I wish that they had put maybe a true black instead of the pressed glitter in black, or perhaps a more gold shade as well. I think that would have looked really pretty. But this is a nice palette, and it's, again, great quality. Okay, next in the lineup, we have the Do Not Disturb palette from the Say It collection. I really love the color story of this palette, but I was surprised by some of the formulas. First off, these mattes, like these two right here, are absolutely smashing. They're pigmented, they're vibrant, they're really good mattes. But the shimmers were a different formula than I was expecting. Some of these shimmers actually act more like toppers than like the BH Cosmetics shimmer formula that I expect. I'll give you an example. Even just grabbing, you know, something that was launched around the same time, we've got... The shimmers are very smooth and creamy, and they're pigmented and they're opaque. The shimmers in this palette are more like topper shades. They don't quite behave the same way. They're not the same formula. And it's curious to me that a company would release... Sorry. Where are you going? I gotta move you. I have to move you. Yes! It's curious to me that a company would launch several products very close to each other that have completely different formulas. Like, I understand if they had a marble formula, a shimmer formula, a topper formula, etc. But BH Cosmetics is pretty standard. They've, like, within their eyeshadow palettes, they have mattes and they have shimmers. And so I was expecting these shimmers to be more creamy, more buttery, and less topper shades. So I really enjoyed the look that I got from this palette, but it's not what I was expecting, and I would have preferred more of that buttery shimmer formula that I expect from BH Cosmetics. The next one in the list is the Opal Palette. This was October's birthstone. This palette surprised me. First off, I am not a fan of pastels. I basically don't use pastels unless they're in conjunction with something else. The Lost in Los Angeles palette was all pastels, which I bought explicitly as a companion palette. So that's the same story with this palette. I bought it as a companion. I have to say, this palette was so boring to me until I tried the mint green shimmer and the light blue matte. These two shades were enough for me to want to keep the palette possibly forever. They were so good. Look at this minty shimmer and the light blue. I used both of these on my lower lash line when I did a look using just this palette and not in conjunction with anything else. These two shades were just show-stopping. They were so pretty. They don't look as exciting on my fingertips as they did on my eyes, but they were really good. So I'm surprised that this palette is ranked as high as it is, because honestly the rest of the shades in it were pretty unexciting for me. I thought I might actually just pass it on because I already have Lost in Los Angeles, but then I dipped into these and I was very surprised. Next up we've got Peridot. I think it's Peridot. This was the August birthstone, and I really liked this palette. I liked the color story. I liked how we've got light and dark. We've got shimmers in different colors. There's a blue shimmer and a green shimmer. What's interesting about this palette is that you can go in several different directions. It's not like the Garnet palette, for example, was basically red and neutrals. But this one's got I think they call it a hero shade, like the big one. It's got the hero shade, which is the theme, you know, but then it's got 5 different colors that all work with it. So you've got yellow, you've got brown, you've got green, you've got blue, you've got peach. All of them work together, and all of them work with the hero shade, and so you can go several different directions with just this palette alone, and that's pretty impressive for 6 shadows. Again, the glitter's horrifying, so it's a 6 shadow palette. So Peridot is pretty high on my list. Now we've got Turquoise. Turquoise was rated even higher on my list, as you can see. The Turquoise palette, like Peridot, can also go in several different directions. You've got a greenish blue shimmer and then a true blue matte. You've got brown to deepen it out. You've got peach to lighten it out, or, you know, peach works with the turquoise. And then you've got a peach shimmer, so that would work really pretty with this shade or this shade or this shade. And then I love that they put a gold in this palette. I would just say that I was expecting something darker, maybe a very deep brown or a black to further give you a deepening option, but also because turquoise does have seams or flecks of brownish black in it. So I would have liked if they had done that, but they didn't, and that's okay. If we could just replace the glitter with another shadow, all would be well with the world. I lost count. Apparently Turquoise was number 3 in my list. So Turquoise will be featured along with numbers 2 and 1 in a cumulative tutorial at some point soon. If you follow me on social media, you might know what these last 2 palettes are. They were hard to rank as far as which one I liked better, and they were very close. But I put in the number 2 spot Blueberry Muffin. Blueberry Muffin is beautiful. I recently got this. This is a new purchase for me. This is like cool toned dream as far as the blue, silvery, brown tones. It's really pretty. First off, it's great quality shadow. These blue mattes are very good. And then every time I use the shade 360 Degrees and Decadent, I'm just staggered by what it's like they blend themselves. You put them on your lid and poof, done. Blended. Almost no effort. They're really good. I would say this palette could be improved. I mean, I like it. It's got some lighter tones. It's got some darker tones. It's got a couple like this sort of gray, still very much within the color scheme, but a lighter tone, so you could use it, you know, as a more gray, icy blue look if you wanted to. It's got a white shimmer, which is fun. I would say I would have preferred if they had put in 1 or 2 more purpley tones, because blueberries can often be purple. And taken out a couple of these shimmers, because the shimmers, while they're all really good and they're all different, they're not different enough, and I think the palette would have been improved by adding in some more mauvey or deep purple blue sort of tones. I've done 3 looks with this so far, and each one has been very different. I have cool undertones in my own skin, so it's really exciting when I find something that's cool toned, that works with my skin tones, and is great quality. Okay, and in the number 1 spot we have, drumroll please, Passion in Paris! This may not be a surprise to anyone because I've used this palette several times. Again, been very impressed by the quality and very pleased with the diversity of looks that I can get. This palette has everything that I want in an eyeshadow palette. It has lighter tones, it has darker tones, it has shimmers that work with the mattes, you know, red matte, red shimmer, peachy brownish matte, peachy brownish shimmer, blue mattes, blue shimmer, purple matte, purple shimmer. There's a green matte and a greenish shimmer. It's got a highlight shade as well for inner corners or under the brow. It's got 1 or 2 neutrals, which generally I don't use, but if you do want a very light color for blending out some of these darker shades, you've got the options. It very much, in my opinion, matches the aesthetic that they, like the photograph that they chose for the outer packaging, because like a sunset, it's got all these moody, deep hued colors. It's great quality, and you can just get a lot of different looks from this palette. Passion in Paris has a lot more color variety. It's not just blue, silver, cool tone like Blueberry Muffin is. Passion in Paris has 5 or 6 different color stories that you can choose from. That's why I placed it higher. So these are my top 3 palettes. I will be doing an eyeshadow tutorial using all 3 of these palettes, as well as a tutorial using all 3 of my top ColourPop palettes. It's funny because my top 3 ColourPop palettes were all within the green earth tone family, and now my top 3 BH Cosmetics palettes are all within a blue, moodier sort of family. So that's interesting to me, but it'll be a lot of fun to create a look using these 3 palettes. I usually will combine 2 palettes. I don't know that I've ever used 3. I can't remember. Anyway, thank you very much for hanging out with me while I ranked my BH Cosmetics eyeshadow palettes. Remember, this is completely my opinion, my preferences, tastes, and styles, and you are free to disagree. In fact, I'd like to know what you think and what your favorite BH Cosmetics palettes are, so please feel free to comment below. Let me know what you think. And I hope that until we see each other again, you stay healthy and well, and have a great day. Bye! Hello, surprised me for peachy. That's why I try to get this stuff done in the morning. Okay, next in the lineup is the Do Not. They released 3 palettes in this collection. Just pigmented and... I can see I'm gonna have to do this another time. Okay.